Alright guys, so sorry for that. I had to break that into two videos. So this is going to be the second part. So let's continue. I want to read a parallel article that gives us some more information about how melanin affects the eyes and what you will need to do if you don't have as much melanin. So in this article, we're going to read where it's titled Our Eye Color. It says melanin is responsible for the color of our eyes. Variation in the color of our eyes from brown to green depends on the amount of melanin in the iris, which in turn is determined genetically. There are three genes that affect eye color, so it's hard to pinpoint the exact color that a child's eyes will be. Individuals with black or brown eyes have eyes with more melanin to block the sun rays. Those with blue, green, or hazel eyes have little protection from the sun and may experience discomfort, irritation, burning, and tissue damage if the eyes are not protected by sunglasses when exposed to bright light. Snow blindness is a well-known example of this kind of damage. So notice if you have the lighter eyes, you need to wear sunglasses. And what's funny about sunglasses, scientists they studied melanin particles because we learned that chemistry, biology is the study of melanin particles and how they affect the cells and how they transfer information to one another cell. So they study melanin particles and they actually were able to make a melanin type substance, which is what they put in sunglasses to get the tint on it, and also what they put in the glass of your car to get the tint. That is a form of melanin to block out the sun. And and they put melanin and studied melanin in your copper tone sun lotion, and that's what gives you the protection from the sun. This is all coming from studying melanin. So let's go back to the other article. I just want you to know that. So all right, it says melanin boost our incredible health benefits as well. For example, the melanin in our skin acts like a barrier against radiation coming from the sun. It is so efficient that it successfully repels 99.9% of radiation when there is a total or even partial deficit of the pigment. The skin is more the skin is more susceptible to developing sunburns and more serious skin damage that can allow the development of skin cancer. So this is how powerful melanin is. You're getting full protection from the sun's radiation. And I'm going to read another parallel article about the melanin as well. Alright, so we're going to read in this article skin color, but we're going to skip down to that second little paragraph there. It says melanin reduces ultraviolet induced DNA damage by absorbing or scattering the ultraviolet radiation that otherwise would have been absorbed by the DNA. This prevents the development of melanoma, a potentially deadly form of skin cancer, as well as other health problems related to exposure to strong solar radiation. The amount of UV radiation or that is absorbed or scattered is determined by a number of factors: the size, the shape, and distribution of melanosomes, as well as the wavelength of the incident ray. Skin color depends upon the size, number, shape, and distribution of melanosomes, as well as chemical nature of their melanin content. There are 6 different skin types that are defined by dermatologists. So we're going to show so it's going to show us the 6 different skin types and it goes from the weakest skin all the way to the strongest skin. So type 1, it describes it as always burns, never tans. Very skin fair with red or blonde hairs and freckles. So type 1 would be the redhead would be a redhead ginger person, because if you when you see them, you see the red. They have the red head and very pale skin, and it's very easily burned. So type 1 would be the redhead, ginger-headed person, the one that their skin always burns, never tans, very fair skin, with red or blonde hair and freckles. Type 2 would be type 2 says burns easily, tans minimally, fair skin. So that's like a regular white person, maybe a white person with blonde hair or something like that. It says, and type 3 is sometimes burn and gradually tans. Type 4 is minimum burning, always tans. White with medium pigmentation. So that's a white person with a more natural tan, like they have a light tanned type of skin tone to their skin. It says type 5 is seldom burns, always tans, medium to heavy pigmentation. And type 6, all the way at the bottom, it says never burns but tans very darkly. And what does it say it is? African Americans, or dark-skinned individuals with heavy pigmentation. So they put that African dermatologists have put that African Americans have the most amount of protection on their skin. Our skin never burns. So I found that funny that the strongest skin, type 6, never burns but tans very darkly. African Americans, or dark-skinned individuals with heavy pigmentation. So all the benefits that we've been reading about melanin is amplified for the African Americans and Africans, because not only do we have dark hair, black hair, not only do we have a dark to black eye color, we have, and our body is engulfed in melanin on our skin. So everything is just amplified with us. So let's go back to the article and read a little bit more. And it says here, for example, people with darker skin tones can generally tolerate more hours of the sun, more hours of sun exposure than fair-skinned people. If red-haired, fair-skinned, green-eyed individuals were to expose themselves to the sun, especially without having prior applied sun lotion, their skin would be less tolerant of the heat and radiation and exhibit mild to severe skin damage symptoms, including redness, sunburns, or blisters, which we just read in the last article there. It says sun exposure and poor melanin pigmentation have been linked to higher risk of skin cancer. If you are light-skinned, remember to always use sunscreen. The lighter the skin, the higher the UV protection factor it requires. The best sunscreen lotions are broad-spectrum ones, meaning they offer protection against both UVB and UVA. Some studies suggest that UVA are responsible for um, malignant melanoma, a common form of skin cancer. However, sun lotion is just as important if you have a darker skin too, because radiation can still pass through and produce serious damage to the skin, which we know that doesn't apply to black people. If you look at Africans in Africa, they typically don't wear shirts and they don't wear as much clothing as people, and you never hear about them suffering from skin cancer. They're out and being as natural as possible, and they do not suffer from skin cancer. So as black people, you don't have to worry about putting on sun lotion. The only way you, as a black person, you have to put on sun lotion is if you're not eating healthy, which is killing your melanin particles, your melanin cells, which would cause you to be which would cause you to be able to get these diseases, because your cells are not as strong, because maybe you're eating a lot of chips, cookies, drinking a lot of soda, drinking a lot of juices that are high in fructose corn syrup, stuff like that, eating a lot of salty food, smoking cigarettes, which kills your melanin cells. Then you would be susceptible to these diseases because your cells aren't as strong as they can be. But if you're a black person who's eating fruits, vegetables, lean meats, drinking mainly water, and if you drink juice, it is not juice that is that is high in fructose corn syrup. It's usually all natural juice with no extra added sugar, that type of stuff. You won't have to worry about this because your body is really healthy, especially if you're working out, and especially if you work out in the sun, like do a lot of running in the sun, trying to do your gym workouts in the sun. That stuff, if you're regularly out in the sun, you won't have to worry about that. So that only applies to lighter skinned people. Only as a black person, if you eat bad, will you be suffering from this. Because you clearly see on drug TV shows where you see a black person who's doing heroin, cocaine, and you see how it just really destroys the melanin cells by causing the teeth to fall out, causing your skin to get this grayish color, causing your hair to fall out, turn gray. That stuff is destroying you. So that is when you need to worry about it, only if you're in that type of situation. So definitely don't drink a lot of alcohol. Definitely don't do drugs at all because that is destroying your ability to produce melanin cells, which we have been learning seriously combats and strengthens your immune system. Okay? Cool. Now I want to read an article that shows us how this lack of melanin is affecting the people in Israel. So here we go. Let's read this article. It says Israel skin cancer rate second highest in the world. The skin cancer rate in Israel is among the highest in the world. The Israel Cancer Association reported yesterday. At the end of the 2000s, there were 3,631 skin cancer patients in Israel, and around 2,000 die every year from this disease. It says the skin cancer rate in Israel is among the highest in the world. The Skin Cancer Association, read that already. It says the Skin Cancer Association held a news conference making Skin Cancer Awareness Week beginning next Sunday. During the week, the association and the health ministry, health maintenance organizations, and hospitals will do free examinations for skin cancer in 300 outlets. Israel is second after Australia for occurrences of malignant melanoma, according to the Health Ministry report covering 1998 to 2000. There are 14.8 cases of malignant melanoma in Israel per 100,000 men and 14.4 cases per 100,000 women. This is less than half the rate in Australia, but higher than in North America, double the rate in European Union, and up to 14 times higher than on all other continents. Now listen to this so far. Israel, the second highest cancer rate. They've been struggling with this cancer. They've been struggling with skin cancer for a long time. And why is that? It's because it's their lack of melanin. So do you think about 3,500 years ago when Israel was in full power that these people who had to live day to day in Israel were so-called light-skinned people? Because you never hear about them complaining about all these skin cancers in the Bible because they were dark-skinned people, because Israel gets very hot in the summers and stuff like that and throughout the year, and it also gets very cold. So Israel is in that part of Africa, and Israel used to be a part of what was called Greater Africa until later in the years it got divided. It got divided. So it is absolutely impossible that the ancestors of the white Jews today were white people, because you have to remember Moses hid in Egypt and was mistaken as the brother of Pharaoh. The Messiah, Yahushua, he hid amongst the Egyptians. Joseph was thought to be an Egyptian, and he even became a pharaoh over in Egypt. Paul, and his real name is Shaul, was mistaken as an Egyptian. The Israelites were mistaken as Egyptians. Because why? They're black skinned people just like the Egyptians who are the Africans. So it is impossible. We're seeing how Yahuwah is literally screaming out, hey, you do not belong in this land. And they're getting hit with all this skin cancer, this high melanoma rate. All right, so it says Dr. Bonhannon, director of the Health Ministry Cancer Registration Unit, says the higher rate of skin cancer in Israel is because of large number of people from Europe and North America whose fair skin is vulnerable to the desert climate here. Risk is increased by the dress fashions that allow more of the body and skin to be exposed to the sun than customary in neighboring countries. He said genetics can only explain about 10% of skin cancers, and even then, mainly among the Ashkenazis, the higher cancer rate in the 90s are as a result of careless and excessive exposure to the sun in the 70s and 80s. He said the growing awareness of the disease and of ways to avoid it, both by doctors and the public, may reduce the skin cancer rate in Israel from 2010. So the Ashkenazi Jews are also are suffering. They point out this one group of Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, because why? They were out in the sun excessively. But as we know, for the descendants of the Hebrew Israelites, the Black Americans, that wasn't a problem for our ancestors because you have to remember they were out in the fields, planting vineyards, doing farming, shepherding the sheep and all this stuff. They were out in the sun all the time, and they never talked about how they had high skin cancer problems or skin problems from being in the sun all the time, because they were meant and built for that climate. So it says Dr. Bonhannon said 990 new patients were diagnosed in 2002, a similar figure to 1999 through 2000. From 1990, a clear trend of rising skin cancer rates were noted among men and women here and in many other countries. The health ministry reports the largest group of skin cancer patients among people of European and North American origin. 400 new patients in 2000. 400 new patients in 2000. Then among those born in Israel, 400 new patients. People of African origin, 40 cases, and of Asian origin, 25%, and Arabs, 15 cases. It says, since exposure to the sun is the main cause of skin cancer, most patients get the diseases in the faces and the back of the neck. 56% of men who get the disease and 40% of women in the arms and shoulders. 17% of men and 24% of women and legs. 16% of men and 27% of women. So as we see, the so-called Jews, and if you understand the Bible, you already know that. You already know that the children of Yahuwah were not called Jews anyway. That name came about in the that name came about in the 8th century when the Khazars switched over to the beliefs of the Hebrew Israelites, the Judaism, and they called themselves Jews. And those people are from Poland and England, where Hitler killed the so-called Jews and all that stuff. So those people, so as you can see, God is very much showing them that they don't belong in this land. This is not for them. All right, so that's what I wanted to say about that. And before I move on, I want to just restate again that I'm not doing this because I hate light-skinned people. I'm doing this strictly for the purpose of that we need to understand why Yahuwah says what he says in his word, why he's telling his people not to mix with these people. I'm giving some of the science behind it. So that's why I'm doing this. It's not trying to preach hate. I don't want people to think that I'm doing this to prove the word of Yahuwah and to give further understanding on why Yah is saying what he is saying. Okay? So I want to get into next how we are brainwashed from from being a child to think that the lighter skinned races are better. And some people say that, oh, I'm colorblind when it comes to choosing a partner. I'm looking at a person's insides. I would beg to differ that that is not the reason why we, as black people, naturally go to the lighter races. Because we're being exposed to this stuff from as a little kid and being brainwashed, and it just becomes a part of our subconscious mind to naturally go over there. So I wanna talk about example like for like how I showed some of the celebrities who were a lot how you see a lot of the black celebrities dating these the lighter skinned women, the white women, or the Spanish women are really light skinned black women. We showed all that fun stuff, the different celebrities and their white wives or Spanish wives. So we have to think about like how this affects the generations. Like how do you think a kid feels? Like for example, a black woman feels when they're grow up and they're seeing our men dating these lighter skinned nations. Because we already know the black woman is is considered a lot of times to be the ugliest of the women and stuff like that, and they get the least amount of respect in the woman community. One for being a woman, and two for being black. In the financial situation, black people are in. So I want to start with when we're children on why we're attached to these, why we see um, this epidemic of the dark skinned people dating these lighter races. So I'm going to give some examples from how they start the brainwashing and the manipulation from when you're a child. So let's start with our famous cartoons that kids watch. How do you think like black kids feel when they watch Nickelodeon and they see the Rugrats? They see these cartoons here, Ed and Eddie, the Rascals, and they're never seeing their own images. Even like TV shows Bob the Builder, this show here, on your cereal boxes as a kid, especially like as a black kid who's growing up in the projects, they're constantly being bashed over the head and getting that constant reminder that hey, that my life isn't that good. And I'm gonna actually show some testimonies where kids no older than age 7 obviously realize that they're the less fortunate out of the races of people. So you're also getting a constant reminder that hey, black is not good. They're seeing all their favorite superheroes that are white whenever kids go to the movies and they want to go see Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. It's always a white image. Black kids are never seeing their own faces. Dragon Ball Z, when they become Super Saiyans, they become a powered up and they become super strong and they become a blonde person, a blonde person. So they're constantly getting hit with this subtle image and idea that it's better to be white as a little kid, and you're subconsciously being and your subconscious mind is processing all this. Naruto, the characters in Naruto don't even look Asian. Naruto himself is a blue-eyed blonde. All right, and the rest of the characters don't even look Asian. They look white people, like white people pretending to be Asian. Asians don't even look right as Naruto characters. Have you ever seen actual Asians dress up like Naruto? It looks weird because you always being conditioned to see a white image when you think of Naruto. One Piece, you've seen all these white images. Pokemon, even the Bible. The Bible, when they watch these TV shows, they're seeing images of Bible prophets, and they're seeing how everyone is supposedly white. Like if you notice the picture here, Jesus is supposedly a white person, and we know Jesus ain't the name. And if you look to the left of your screen, you see the Egyptian person, white, and we already learned about how the people in Israel right now are getting high skin cancer because of their lack of melanin to protect them. They didn't say that in the article because they don't want people to put two and two together. But we read the melanin fact, so we know that melanoma is a product of lack of melanin. So they seeing the Messiah as a supposed white person, and they seeing all these different people here, and they seeing just about how everybody's white, and they snuck one little black person in all the way to the right, the second to last person. And you seeing the whitened out images. You're being constantly reminded, and seeing these whitened out images that the Messiah is supposedly white, Jesus is white. And think about a black kid growing up and seeing a picture of white Jesus. That makes them think that white people are the end all be all. They can't do or say anything wrong because they're being pushed with this doctrine, and they're growing up seeing a white Jesus on their wall, thinking that white people are the best thing in the world. So it is very detrimental and very damaging to the psyche of black people and white people as well too, because then they get all high and mighty and thinking that they're the chosen people and the best people, because people are getting it fooled just because they see the Europeans everywhere and how Europeans have the most money. But we know that, well, I won't say we know. If you understand the word of Yahuwah and you understand the prophets of the Bible, they weren't rich people. They weren't rich people at all. They only came with the word of Yahuwah, and people did things for them. People took them into their houses, fed them. They weren't rich people. They would probably be called um, floaters in today's time, people who live off of other people because of the ignorance of our people today. And we got another picture here. Here's a depiction of David and Goliath. Here's a picture of John the Baptist baptizing the Messiah. So as black kids grow up and see these images, here's movies of the Son of God. The previous one was the Ten Commandments. They're thinking this white image is the image of the Messiah. And then some people will argue, right, and say that, well, we don't believe that the Messiah was white anymore. We believe that he was East. He was the skin tone as the Muslim people because that's the side he grew up in. But people don't understand about the great colonialism that went on in centuries past. So they'll say anything to try to disclaim the fact that the Messiah really was a dark-skinned black person. And now I'm going to show you the original Muslims. And they were called the Moors people, the Moors people. And they actually ruled Spain from 710 all the way up until the 1400s, until I forgot which Spaniard took that over after, but they ruled from 710 all the way up until the 1400s in Spain. So for a little bit over 800 years, the Moors, the original people of Islam, Muslim people, they ruled for 800 years. And I'm going to show you an image of them because people like to say, well, he was just a medium brown skinned person. But if you understand about the Christian Crusades in the 1400s, when the white Spaniards and the Catholics and the people of the Catholic religion, they came with their Christianity, tried to influence that on the world, and they came and did that same thing to the Native Americans. They imposed the Christianity on the black slaves, and in the whole world. You would understand that part of colonialism is taking the goods, destroying their houses of idols, having concubines, having sex and having sex with these women and producing these children. And this is where the whitening out comes from. So we're going to see the original Moors people before they got whitened out. All right. So and they left many paintings, and we actually have a few pictures of them. The Moors are the original Muslim people. So we're going to see if the Messiah really was a medium brown person, or was he the dark skinned person that the Bible predicts and says he is. Yeah, so as you can see, we have dark skinned black people. Hold on. So as you see, undeniably black. Here's paintings of the original Muslims. Here's sculptures and that they left behind. Paintings, picture, paintings. So you can see they were clearly dark-skinned black people. They were by no means the medium brown people that whites want you to believe. They were dark-skinned black people. And these are the original Muslims. Okay? So not by any means were they light skinned. We just disproved that through the evidence that they left behind. Okay? So was the Messiah a black person of dark skin? Yes. He was not by any means a light skinned, medium brown skinned person. That is new. That is the new day and age. They were not light skinned people. So we have to think about, how does this affect the psyche of black people, especially black children, when they grow up seeing these images. They grow up looking at all these whitened out images, seeing different white images of the Bible prophets, the movies that depict them as being white, the movies that depict Egyptians as being white, seeing how white people have dominion over the earth, and they thinking wealth is the main factor of all these things. So and kids watching cartoons, seeing how the white people in cartoons and the lighter skinned people have better lives and stuff like that. So all this is playing on the mind. So, and also even when you go shopping, even when kids go shopping, they seeing the models that are modeling the clothing. They're seeing they're seeing the white faces. Even the mannequins are shaped like white women with white skin. All this is being processed. They're seeing all this stuff as little kids. They watch the TV and they see the supermodels, how they're mainly the light skinned women and stuff like that. This is all working on their brain and making them think that they're less than the best, and they think that they don't look good and they're not good enough. So let's see some testimonies from these kids, and we're going to see how it's affected them from their own mouths. Oh yeah, and before I show that, I wanted to also, we can't forget about Barbie dolls as well. So I want to show Barbie dolls and see how over the decades, how black kids playing with the Barbie dolls, how even that affects them, because they're playing with these white Barbie dolls. And it's not until 2016 that we have ethnic Barbie dolls. So let's watch this clip from CBS News.
Barbie dolls led the toy industry as a billion-dollar business, but in recent years, growing competition and perception problems hurt sales. Now, toy maker Mattel is announcing that the normally blue-eyed blonde bombshell is changing her look. The company is adding tall, petite, and curvy body types to a new line of more ethnically diverse dolls. Maria Villarreal visited Mattel's headquarters for a story you're seeing first on CBS This Morning.
Barbie, you're beautiful. Since 1959, Barbara Millicent Roberts, better known as Barbie, has been a household name. We girls can do anything, right, Barbie? At 11 and a half inches tall, Barbie has had more than 180 careers. She's a pop culture icon. But after decades of dominating the doll world and just weeks short of her 57th birthday, Barbie's getting a makeover.
We were hearing that, many thought that Barbie was out of touch.
As a typically white doll with unrealistic proportions, some parents thought Barbie was sending the wrong message about beauty.
There are people who turned away from Barbie because they wanted dolls that more resembled themselves, more in terms of their body type, and more in terms of their skin tones.
You are beauty. Competitors mocked Barbie's seemingly perfect appearance while promoting a new line of action figures for girls. Last year, Mattel introduced 23 new dolls with different skin tones and hair colors. Now they're adding 3 new body types: curvy, tall, and petite.
I actually think this is one of the most exciting times for the brand, broadening girls' choices, what Barbie looks like, her body type, her ethnicity, her careers. This is all part of the evolution of the brand and what we believe is the right conversation around the world to have with kids today.
Mattel is counting on it. Barbie not only faces challenges in an increasingly competitive market, she's also up against technology-driven toys.
Let's talk about Friends for a bit.
The company took some heat last year from parents and privacy advocates after introducing Hello Barbie.
Oh, reading and writing? Cool.
An interactive doll that responds differently based on conversations with your child. Mattel says the recorded conversations are securely stored.
Can't wait to talk to you later.
In their last earnings report, Barbie sales were down 14%, marking the 8th straight quarter of declining sales.
There are various mistakes that were made in the Barbie line. I think this was a change that was absolutely necessary.
These are the carrots that feeds the horsey.
Mattel also wants to remind customers it's not just about what girls see, but what they learn and imagine while playing with Barbie.
Someone has to drive. I'll drive.
The toy maker introduced the new dolls to a group of 4- and 5-year-olds.
They don't look like Barbie.
They don't look like Barbie.
The girls immediately noticed some changes.
Some of them have brown skin and white skin.
But her new body type wasn't one of them.
Why did you choose her?
My favorite color is blue.
The next step for Mattel is changing parents' perceptions.
You guys have a long road ahead of you, don't you? We do. This is not the end. We're going to continue to work hard at being, responsible and a better reflection of the world that girls live in today.
All right.
It's a risk for the plastic doll that Mattel is hoping will result in a real connection.
It would be more of a risk if we don't continue to evolve Barbie, if we stayed stagnant, if she looked the same, if she did the same thing. She's got to evolve with the times.
For CBS This Morning, Mireya Villarreal, El Segundo, California.
Well, I'm glad they're making...
So as you can see that it's not up until 2016 that Barbie industry has made this choices. So imagine a black girl who's playing with Barbies, who's at the complete opposite end of the spectrum of a tall, skinny, blue-eyed, blonde-haired, light-skinned girl. That must be very damaging to her personality and to her feelings, because this is the so-called supposed standard of beauty, and black girls are nowhere near that, because black girls are usually thicker. We have tough hair. We have dark skin, of course, dark brown eyes, full lips. We're not skinny like that. and we don't have blonde hair. So so that's the standard of beauty. The girls, black girls, have to be feeling some type of way about that. And as you can see, they agree. And remember, one of the parents was talking about how it was damaging to their child's mindset because they realizing that, hey, I don't look like this, and this is the standard of beauty. Okay, so that has to be very affecting. So it's not up into 2016. So from 1959, I believe, when Barbie started coming out, up until 2016, the Barbies have been for white dolls, and the Ken doll, the white man. So when you going into stores and seeing the white mannequins, a lot of the people modeling the clothing are white people, the Victoria's Secret models that get the most screen time are the white women, light-skinned women, light-skinned Spanish, Asian, white, that stuff. Your favorite superheroes, Batman, Superman, The Flash, Aquaman, all these people are white people. And you realizing that, hey, I'm not this. So we're going to see how this also affects children. So this is why as you grow up, you have this attraction for the lighter skinned race, because the whole time when you're growing up watching cartoons, going shopping, you're constantly being reminded that if light is supposedly better. But we already read in the melanin facts that the lighter your skin is, the less protection you have, the more likely you are to have Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, all these bone problems. You don't get as much nutrients. You don't see as well if you have blue eyes and green hair. The older you get, if you're a lighter skin, you're losing the little dash of melanin you have, which causes your skin to wrinkle easily, which causes your bones and muscles to become very weak. And it's very evident when you see a healthy older black woman that, hey, she's not the same as a white person who's the same age as her, because a healthy black woman is in no competition with, oh, say, a white woman who's healthy of the same age. They look decades younger, and the healthy black woman will be stronger. Same thing for the man, because of the sheer fact we have so much melanin. So you see this reverse psychology. The government, global elite, all these big businesses, they have to promote this image to make people think that the white is better, because they don't want black people to know that, hey, you are technically genetically stronger, and we're on the lesser end of that. So let's see this video here and see how black kids and white kids think, and Latin kids think, when it comes to what is good, what is beautiful, and what is ugly at this no age older than 7 or 8.
Which doll?
Give me a second.
Which doll is the black doll? And which one is the white doll? Which doll is the pretty doll? Which doll is the nice doll? Which doll is the bad doll? Which doll is the nice doll? And which doll is the bad doll? And why is that doll pretty?
Because she's white and you have 2 eyes.
Which doll is the ugly doll? Why is that doll ugly?
Because he's black.
Which doll looks most like you?
Like me?
Yeah, which one looks like?
And that one.
Okay.
That doll.
Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you'd like to play with?
This one. I like that one. Can you show me the doll that is the nice doll? And why is that the nice doll? She's white. And can you show me the doll that looks bad? Okay. And can you and why does that look bad? Because it's black. And why do you think that's a nice doll? Because she's white. And can you give me the doll that looks like you? "15 out of the 21 children preferred the white doll." Yeah, that one.
Which one?
This one.
Why do you want that skin color?
Because I don't know. I don't know.
Not sure. What do you think of that skin color?
Well, it looks kind of whitish, and that's all I remember. Yeah.
How about you? Why do you want that skin color?
Because it looks lighter than this kind, because this looks a lot like that one.
Yep.
And I just don't like the way brown looks, because the way brown looks really nasty for some reason, but I don't know what reason. That's all.
So you think it looks nasty?
Well, not really, but sometimes.
Sometimes. And Brielle, they asked what color adults don't like. Do you remember what you said? Which one? That's right, that's what you said. Why do you think adults don't like that color?
Dark.
Dark. And you think adults don't like dark?
Maybe some adults do, but maybe some of them don't.
And then which was the ugly child?
So show me the smart child. Okay, why is she the smart child?
Because she looks like me.
Okay. Show me the mean child. Okay, why is she the mean child?
Because she's way darker.
Okay. Show me the good child. Why is she the good child?
Because I think she looks like me.
Okay. Show me the bad child. Why is she the bad child?
Because she's a lot darker.
Show me the ugly child. Why is she the ugly child?
Because she's like, a lot darker.
¿Cuál muñeco es bonito? ¿Cuál muñeco es feo? ¿Cuál muñeco es malo?
Ninguno.
¿Cuál muñeco es malo?
Este.
¿Y por qué?
Porque, bueno, este es moreno y este es blanco.
¿Cuál muñeco es feo? ¿Por qué?
Porque a mí no me gusta el color café.
¿Cuál muñeco te gusta más?
Este.
¿Cuál muñeco es bueno?
Este.
¿Y por qué?
Porque no me dan miedo los güeros porque tengo más confianza con un poco más así como este. No tengo mucha confianza.
¿Cuál muñeco es malo? ¿Por qué?
No sé.
¿Cuál muñeco es feo?
Este. No sé, es que me parece que está un poquito, ¿cómo te diría? Más moreno y no se ve tan blanco. Y no tiene mucho aspecto.
¿Por qué el muñeco blanco es bueno?
Porque sus ojos son azules y todo su cuerpo es blanco.
¿Cuál muñeco es feo?
Este.
¿Por qué?
Porque es negro.
¿Por qué ese muñeco es malo?
Porque está café.
¿Y por qué que este café es malo?
Porque pega.
¿Cuál muñeco te gusta más?
Blanco. Porque sus ojos están bonitos y su raza también.
¿Cuál muñeco se parece más a ti?
Un poquito a este. Es que soy un poquito güerita de mis piernitas y de mis aquí, de mi espalda y de mi carita y mis bracitos los tengo morenitos.
¿Cuál muñeco se parece más a ti?
Este.
¿En qué?
Las orejas. Sí, vamos.
Why is she the bad child?
Because she's black.
And why is he the ugly child?
Because he's lucky white.
Why is he the dumb child?
Because he has dark brown skin.
Why is she the bad child?
Because she makes fun of everybody else's skin color.
Show me the child who has the skin color most adults like.
And show me the child who has a skin color most adults don't like.
Child.
Dumb child.
Okay, why is she the dumb child?
Because she has black skin.
Show me the mean child. Why is he the mean child?
Because she's brown.
Show me the bad child. Why is he the bad child?
Because he's black.
Okay. Show me the ugly child. Why is he the ugly child?
Because he's black.
Show me the child who has the skin color most adults like. And show me the child who has the skin color most adults don't like. Show me the child who...
So as you can see, there is great deception on the mind happening here. So you have to wonder. We have to wonder, why are these kids thinking like this, right? Because these kids are very young. Why are these kids thinking like this? Because they probably, like the white kids, you got their parents telling them that, hey, you're better, and because you're black. So you can still see the racism today. And if you notice, there were a few black kids in there who said that the white kids was the bad kids because they make fun of the darker skinned people. There was like 2 or 3 kids in there who realized, and who probably had smart parents that raised them to know better. So it's funny because it's funny and not funny because you're seeing how this is affecting little kids. Little kids, they realize and they understand the disadvantages of being black and the advantages of being white in this day and age. Like a lot of those young kids weren't able to articulate why white was better or why black was worse. They would say, oh, because, like one kid said, because his eyes were blue. And we already know that from this video, from the beginning of this video, that if you have blue eyes, you're saying that that is a sign of melanin deficiency, which allows you to not be able to see as well as a person with dark eyes. And clearly, the black kids, they're saying this stuff too because a lot of black kids don't have the same financial advantages as other ethnicities of people. So a black kid growing up in the ghetto, impoverished neighborhood, that when they go out or they go to vacation or one of those random times when they get to see that, or when they're watching TV, they're seeing how white kids, white parents are living better lives, living in bigger houses, eating better, sleeping better. They see how the white families don't argue as much. They're seeing how they have more money, the nicer cars. They're seeing how their favorite superheroes, their favorite TV cartoon characters are all white people. So they're thinking that, oh, they must be better because of this. So that's why these little kids are thinking like that. And this is what causes them to grow up and to desire a white Hispanic person, a white woman, a white Asian, stuff like that. And because they want to get out of their situation. And everyone's grown up in this way of thinking. The smarter generations were actually the people which would be like our grandparents or our great grandparents, who understood that white people, Europeans, don't like us, and that they do everything to keep black people down. Those were the smarter people, and they weren't about mixing. All this mixing stuff came with the Woodstock and stuff like that. Woodstock and stuff like that, about peace and love and coming together. That's when you start to see this thing of whites and blacks coming together during the Vietnam War time. Less war, more loving, and all that stuff. So this is very powerful on the mind, as you can see. So this is why this is why, as black parents, black brothers, we have to raise our children and teach them about the benefits of melanin, and teach them that, hey, you are the ones, your ancestors are the ones who started all the civilizations of the world. This is why we need to teach them about the Bible. And not just the Bible, because there are a lot of books that are not in the Bible. This is why we need to teach them about the word of Yahuwah. That's how I like to refer now, as the word of Yahuwah. This is why we have to teach them about that, and teach them the true images of the people, because it's very important for black people. We need to teach our children and our fellow brothers and sisters about what it means, what this black skin means, the science behind it, not just its protection against the sun, or that having a black skin is a curse or something like that. We need to teach them the truth behind this stuff. So I hope this video has been helpful, because we need to really undo the chains on our mind, the slavery on our mind, because the slavery on our mind is more powerful than the slavery my ancestors were in 150 years ago and back. It's more powerful now than ever, because now you have social media and TV shows and always pushing this white doctrine at you. The supermodels white. All the supposed prettiest, famous supermodels were white. The mannequins inside the stores are shaped like white men and white women. The models modeling the clothes. So you're constantly being pushed, beaten over the head with this psychological white image. You got white sugar. The sugar you eat, white sugar. And that's actually the most unhealthiest sugar, because the white sugar is the processed sugar, where they take all the minerals out of it. You should watch a documentary called Big Sugar, and you can see how there's modern day slavery in the Dominican Republic with the black Haitians working in the sugar plantations. So you should watch that documentary called Big Sugar, and so you would learn that how they strip the minerals from sugar and make and put it in all that stuff. So sugar is actually brown. You know that the healthiest bread is the wheat bread, which naturally comes out brown. The white bread is bread that's been stripped of all of its nutrients. White rice is the most unhealthiest, because it has tons of carbs and sugars. Again, it's stripped out of all its nutrients. The brown sugar is better. So they are even being racist against the food in the food industry. They're pushing their white food to the forefront. But now some people are becoming smarter and understanding that white sugar is the worst out of them. The white flour is the worst. The brown, I mean the white flour is the worst. What was the other one I said? White sugar, white flour, the white bread is the worst, and the brown sugar. And if you also think about in nature, animals that come out white with the albinism, it's harder for them to hunt, because they can't survive in the wilderness like that, because they're exposed. So if you think about it, everything that you see in nature tells you that if it's white, it ain't right. But we have this reverse psychology going on. And I was also talking about how the melanin, if you have dark skin, you're able to get the most amount of nutrients out of your food, and you get the most amount of nutrients, and typically you're the healthiest people. So even when you're drinking this baby formula, the most famous ones are like Similac. When you're drinking that baby formula, it's based upon the nutrients of a white woman's breast milk, which for black people is not is which for black people harms us because that is the least healthiest breast milk because white women don't have nearly as much melanin as a black woman. And if you notice in the slavery days, that it would be black women feeding black women breast milking white children, stuff like that. So back then they knew all this evidence about that the black woman's breast milk is the healthiest breast milk. And I'll actually show you a picture of that too if you've never seen that. So right here you can see a black slave breastfeeding a white child. Here's another depiction of a black slave breastfeeding a white child. Another picture, this one is a black slave feeding her black child and a white child right there on the right nipple. And here's a black slave breastfeeding a white child while she's watching her child not getting any breast milk. So white people have always known what the healthier breast milk is. So Similac is based off of a white woman's nutritional value, which she has the least amount of nutrition because a white woman has the least amount of melanin. So with that, the effect that has on a black child in particular, it causes a black child, not to be able to um, cling on to its culture. It causes a child to not be able to cling on to its culture, and it actually causes a black child to see the as a to subconsciously want to be with a white person because people don't understand how intimate a relationship is between a child and a baby and its mother. When a baby is drinking the breast milk of his mother, they're creating a bond right there, and the baby's getting the nutrients from his mother and understanding its mother's personality and genetics through that bonding. So when a baby sees that white Similac breast milk that has the nutritional values of a white woman, it's bonding with the culture of a white person, which affects it down the line and causes that child to go to more go towards wanting to have a light skinned woman. So the racism has started long before you even learn to talk and walk. It started with your breast. It started with the breast milk. Now, if you were lucky enough to be breastfed from your mom and you never had the Similac formula, you shouldn't have a problem with that. But then you also get trapped seeing the cartoons, superheroes that are all white images, so you get affected by that as well too. Especially if you eat in the white sugar, white rice, white bread, white flour, and all that stuff. So this racism has started long ago. And if these kids knew the white kids in the videos, if they knew the history of how white people got their power, they would quickly understand that it's the European people who are the bad people. King Leopold, what he did in the African Congos with his rubber mining, he used to chop off the hands of black people for not bringing in um, not bringing in their proper amount of rubber and or not working hard. It was slavery. They were whipping black people in the Congo African forest up until 1959, and then of course slavery, what the Europeans did to the Native Americans to get this land, the Christian Crusades, how they went into the black Muslim areas and forced their Christianity on them and raped and mutilated the women. Christopher Columbus, what he did to the natives who were in the now Hispanic islands in the Caribbean, all that stuff. So the Europeans want you thinking that they're the good guys and all this stuff. And don't forget the KKK, the lynching mobs, and all that. So they're the real enemies, not us as black people. But what happens is you see rappers dressing up like thugs. You have the thug gangster rap, which black kids are seeing on a daily basis, and that's the image that they're seeing at the forefront. They're seeing how blacks are getting shot in the news, and whenever they talk about black people, they always call them thugs in the news and stuff like that. So that's why these kids have this mindset. And actually, National Geographic posted, going onto a different topic about the interracial thing. National Geographic posted an article, and it talked about how in 2050 there would be the mix. How they talked about in 2050 how interracial children would look. So I'm gonna show you an image of that. So this is what scientific studies and National Geographic ended up coming out and posting in their magazines about how future children will look in 2050 because of the great interracial dating. And as you can see, there are no dark-skinned black people here. This would be the complete whitening out of the black genes. The darkest person you have is that black lady in the middle who is not even nearly as dark as me. So, and these are, as we learn, these are genetically weak people. But the Luciferians and global elite, they want the genes of black people to be gone because they're in constant fear because blacks are genetically better, genetically superior to them. So this is the complete whitening out of black people, and they say this is what we'll look like in 2050 because of the great interracial marriages that are going on. But I also would stand to tell you that Yahuwah is not going to wait that long to see his people completely whitened out. So judgment will fall before this time ever comes. And I also want to show you how even celebrities and people, how they've used skin lightening creams to whiten themselves out because they themselves are brainwashed to think that the white is better. And quick pointer out here. So now you can understand why all these celebrities chose their white partners, because they all grew up thinking that white was better. And they all grew up in that time and era where they were playing with with the white Barbie dolls, the white Ken dolls, thinking that white is better, light skin is better. So this is why they ended up choosing their spouses, because they were caught in this lie and deception. And their children are sadly going to be genetically inferior to their black selves, which they don't know because no one goes around learning melanin facts or learning about what it means to be black. They just seeing what media wants you to see. So this is why they chose these counterparts here, because they fall in this deception that the lighter generations, the lighter skin is better. And and also we see how they have this skin lightening cream thing going on, and we've seen how celebrities have actually used this skin lightening cream to whiten out their skin because they believe the lie that the lighter skin is better. And these skin lightening creams cause cancer. So you see how like black celebrities try to look like the white people. They do all this stuff to lighten their skin, and it's quite sad. Quite sad. And if you notice, the white people, they trying to get tan, right? They trying to get tan. Like, look at this lady. She's a heavyweight lifter, and she gets tan so her muscles can be more defined, because you need the dark skin to help your muscles come to light. So white people don't want to be white. They trying to get tan, but you look at black people trying to be white. It's very sad. And this lady here, look how far she went. She was completely white skinned, and she had herself injected with some type of skin darkening cream or whatever that makes her skin turn darker. And look in the next picture too. Look how much further she went. She even went further enough to change her whole hairstyle to look like a black person. So white people don't want to be white. They want the darkness of black people, but they don't want black people to know that, hey, you're the better option. Okay? So it's actually very sad. And these are some of the skin cancers that I was reading about. And you can see how being out in the sun too long affects their skin terribly. So I just wanted to say that too. Well, my friends, I think that's all the information that I have about what it means to be black and why Yahuwah says to not marry these Gentile nations because of their foreign beliefs, and because in today's time, Yahuwah doesn't want children. He wants a pure bloodline. He wants the children of Israel to keep a pure bloodline. Simple as that. And we saw and we read in the scriptures in the first video how great of an abomination it is to Yahuwah when you date outside your race. We can't even, as the children of Israel, we can't even date outside of our own tribe. And you have to understand, in this today and time, if you're a person who's watching this video, the only possible way you can watch this video, hear this information, and still go out and doing what you're doing if you don't care about your black history, if you want to really get away from it and forget about the suffering of our people, because a black man will never be understood more than by a black woman, and a black woman will never be understood more than by a black man. The bond of a black woman and a black man can never be matched by the bond of a white man and a black woman, a black man and a white woman, Spanish woman, none of that crap. Because our history is so deep and we're connected to the Most High Yah. We're His people. So for you to go outside your race is complete destruction and a complete screw you to your history and to the suffering of your ancestors, to your great 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 grandmother who was on a plantation, who got raped by the slave master or by the overseer, stuff like that. That's an insult. You spit in her face. You spit in your great great grandma's face who had to deal with racism and having to drink at the black water fountain, having not being able to go to certain hotels, live in certain areas, having to watch her black men, her black brothers and sisters be hanged in lynching mobs, having to see the cross burned on her front yard because she was black and stuff like that. So you're disrespecting all your ancestors when you do that, okay? So the only way you could not date your own woman or man of your, and it's not just for black people, this is for any nation of people. Yahuwah wants you to stay with your people. So whites with whites, Spanish with Spanish, Arabs with Arabs, um, Indian people with Indian, Native Americans with Native Americans, that stuff. Yahuwah wants you to stay with your people because you will never have a better relationship than with a person of your own kind. But we all need to come together to serve and do the commandments of the Most High. So we're not supposed to be intermingling like how we're seeing in today's time. And as you saw, they predict that if in 2015, if we still keep going on this path, that, as you saw, dark-skinned black people like me will not be around. So, and you also have to think how that is going to affect their mind, because remember, we're ruled in a white supremacy world. The senators, Congress, all the people who work in the behind scenes that you don't hear much about are white people. They're the ones making the laws. So these children will grow up thinking like white people. It won't matter that they'll be culturally diverse. That's just their genetics. They'll grow up thinking like a white man or a white woman. And this is not the first time that's been done too, because in the days of slavery, in the days of slavery, pure white people would use the mulatto children, so a half black, half white child, as an overseer to the darker skinned people, and give them like a more, give them like a higher um, responsibility, and like put them on a higher pedestal because their skin was lighter. So they would use the mulatto people against black people. So that's not the first time they would teach them to be in the ways of a white person, to be loyal to the white supremacy society. And that's still going on. And they just dressing it up by saying, oh, it's okay now to date together and mix with each other. But that is not the word of Yahuwah. And I'm going to end us with Bible verse, Proverbs chapter 5. It says, "My son, listen to my wisdom, incline your ear to my understanding, so as to watch over discernment, and your lips guard knowledge. For the lips of a foreign woman drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lay hold of the grave. She does not consider the path of life. Her ways are unstable. You do not know it. So now, listen to me, you children, and do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not come near the door of her house, lest you give her splendor to others, and your years to one who is cruel, lest strangers be filled with your strength, and your labors go to the house of a foreigner." That's right there is talking about how all your money and stuff, because women typically live longer than men. So like these basketball players, when they die, all those riches are going to go back to the families of these white women, these black, these Hispanic women. They're not going to be giving this money to the black community. They're not going to be giving it back to the black community. So black people are still going to be in this standstill. Like, look at Michael Jackson's children. They're not black. That money, all that money he had went to white supremacy again. None of it went back to the black community. So let's keep going on. It says, "Then you shall howl in your latter end, when your flesh and your body are consumed, and shall say, how I have hated discipline, and my heart has despised reproof, and I have not heeded the voice of my teachers, and I have not inclined my ears to those who instructed me. In a little while I was in all evil, in the midst of an assembly and a congregation. Drink water from your own cistern, and running water from your own well, should your springs be scattered abroad, rivers of water in the streets. Let them let them be only your own, and not for foreigners with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth, a loving deer and a pleasant dove. Let her breast satisfy you at all times, and be captivated by her love always. For why should you, my son, be captivated by a foreign woman, and embrace the bosom of a foreigner? For the ways of a man are before the eyes of Yahuwah, and he considered all his path. The wicked is entrapped in his own wickedness, and he is caught in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and in the greatness of his folly he goes astray. So that's how we're going to end this video. So I hope this video has been very helpful, and I bless and I thank Yahuwah that he has put this on my heart to make this video, and you are blessed a little bit more by watching this video and understanding what this means. But you only get the full blessing if you apply what you learned and come out of this mental slavery. And notice what he says. He says, "Why, my son, would you be captivated by a foreign woman and embrace the bosom of a foreigner? For the ways of the man are before the eyes of Yahuwah." So he said, why would you be captivated by a foreign woman? You see how black women struggle in today's time and don't have enough men. The growing rate of lesbianism is in the community of black women, because all of our black men are running away to the foreign women. So the fastest growing rate of lesbian women is in the black woman community, if you didn't know that. Because they getting slapped around by their own men. They're seeing how their men are wanting to go date these white women, Hispanic women, which is causing them to turn to their own women for comfort, guidance, that desire, and those sexual needs and those emotional needs. So black men, we have to step up our game. We have to be the man that Yahuwah wants us to be. We have to be the man Yahuwah needs us to be for our black women, for our black children. We have to be engulfed in the knowledge of Yahuwah. We have to be engulfed in the knowledge of what it means to be black and how strong you are, and take care of ourselves and to be healthy and to properly love our women and children, raise them correctly, to be smart and understand this game that we are in called white supremacy. And we cannot be caught up in this illusion that intermingling with foreign women is a-okay, because it is not. So thank you guys for watching. Hallelujah for another day. And I pray you take this knowledge into consideration and apply it to your everyday life. So thank you for watching.